Colorado appears to have a gap in a law that is meant to protect kids. We learned about this after a high school teacher in Northwest Colorado was found not guilty of sexting with a student. Turns out an adult sexting a kid who's 15, 16, or 17 years old is legal. Our Marshall Zellinger explains why.
In the city of Craig in Northwest Colorado, high school teacher Justin Foley was just found not guilty of sexual exploitation of a child. He was accused of getting a high school student to send him 3 nude photos of herself and sending her a video of him touching himself.
The charge of sexual exploitation of a child was hinged on, or hinges on, the presence of an image, a sexual image. We didn't have the images, we just had the victim's testimony that the images existed.
Deputy District Attorney Matt Carzan tried the case. He said without the photos or video, the jury was shown explicit text messages. "I'd probably press you against the wall, pull your clothes off, and kiss your entire body." Even with that, the jury acquitted. So with only text to show as evidence, did the DA's office in Moffat County seek the wrong charges?
There are multiple statutes in Colorado that sort of cover or capture sexually charged words, not images, it's like text messages, but they all require the victim to be under 15 years old.
Enticement of a child is when the victim is a child under the age of 15. Internet luring of a child is when the victim is under 15 years of age. And internet sexual exploitation of a child, you guessed it, is when the victim is under 15 years of age. In the case in Moffat County, the texts were when the victim would have been 15 years old.
Does that surprise you? Certainly surprised our team. As state legislators get ready for a new session in 2 weeks, we invited 2 policymakers to come in to discuss this state of affairs. Democratic State Senator Rhonda Fields of Aurora, who recently helped update teenage sexting laws, and Amanda Gall, a former prosecutor who helps guide legislators as they make laws about sexual assault.
Amanda, if we're just having words between a high school teacher and their student, what law do we go to?
There are several laws in the state of Colorado, like internet exploitation of a child or internet luring, that criminalize conduct between someone who is talking online with a child or text messaging with a child, perhaps exchanging photos, but describing explicit sexual conduct and looking to groom and meet that child for the purposes of sexually assaulting that child. Those laws on the books cover children who are under the age of 15. When you're talking about a 15, 16, or 17-year-old child, even if you're talking about a teacher or coach or someone with special access to that child, currently that's not criminalized.
Senator Rhonda Fields, you took 2 years to decriminalize sexting between teens to make it less of a sex offense.
Yes.
What did you learn from that? If you're going to have a discussion, maybe we should strengthen some of these sexting laws as it relates to an adult and their students.
Yeah, the scenario that we're talking about right now was not covered in my bill because we were talking about a teen or a child on the same level. Here we have an adult, a trusted adult.
Is this the kind of thing that you might want to take up, or that you could have a conversation with lawmakers that said, we have discovered perhaps a gap here that we could fix?
It's a loophole, and once you have a perpetrator like this who understands there's a loophole, then that behavior continues. So if there's an opportunity for us to close that gap to protect kids, then we should be doing that.
So I think if you were going to approach this from a policy standpoint, you would want to make sure that you're only talking about 15 and 16 and 17-year-olds in conjunction with conduct by those in a position of trust, not simply 15 and 16 and 17-year-olds with anyone.
Denver's auditor has found some issues with the city's affordable housing program, issues on and beyond what we exposed earlier this year when we told you that the city had lost control of hundreds of affordable housing units. As we told you back in March, residents had unknowingly bought these affordable homes, and then they were being told by the city that they needed to sell them at a loss. According to this new audit, the Office of Economic Development incorrectly calculated sale and resale prices on affordable homes. That resulted in them being overpriced and underpriced. City Council eventually came up with an ordinance allowing homeowners to stay, but only if they agreed to abide by price control and buyer eligibility requirements when they sell. So let me tell you just what a hot mess Denver's affordable housing program is. As of September, there are 201 homes still out of compliance. This auditor's report says the city is not accurately determining income eligibility, the city isn't filing documents correctly, the city isn't collecting fees from developers to fund affordable housing properly, and the city is paying out too much in incentives. But other than that, it's going great. The city put out a statement saying despite a staffing shortage, it is trying to improve that program. It's meeting some of the audit's recommendations, and it's working on the others. If it's true that there are no bad days when you're fishing, then chances are the Park County Sheriff had yet another good day today living and fishing down in Florida. Park County leaders did not like our questions or our camera when we exposed their absentee sheriff, Fred Wagner. Now that the public is talking about this, Jeremy Hohola from our 9 Wants to Know team got a different reception up there.
You know that saying, there's a new sheriff in town? If only that was the case in Park County amid a high-profile unsolved murder of a teenage girl. The current sheriff has been out of town, not catching criminals, but fish in Florida. Sheriff Fred Wagner has been getting paid as sheriff despite his so-called retirement last summer, as 9 News reporter Noel Brennan found.
He asked for his job back, kept his salary, parking space.
We continue to ask questions about how this is possible. Last week, we tried to get commissioners on camera about this issue during a public meeting, but our camera was banned.
My name is Jeremy Hohola. I'm a reporter for 9 News out of Denver.
We felt that was wrong and went back Thursday morning, where this time, commissioners apologized for last week's First Amendment flub and took our questions no problem.
But have you heard any concerns from the taxpayers of this county about a lack of leadership here in Park County because of this?
It's not something that I think is on a lot of people's minds. I think they are worried, but I honestly think that most people look at it and say, yeah, we're disappointed in our sheriff. I'm disappointed in our sheriff.
The commission explained state law does not allow them to control the sheriff or his salary. After all, he's elected himself. It's the voters who have control. But with a new sheriff coming into town early next year, voters will have to wait a bit longer as their current sheriff gets paid to fish in Florida.
I wish he was spending more time here like he should be to work with our new sheriff. But on January 8th, everything will change.
For Next, I'm Jeremy Hohola.
Democrats and Republicans in Colorado's congressional delegation are expressing concern tonight following Defense Secretary James Mattis's resignation announcement today. But Colorado Senator Cory Gardner put on a happy face. Democratic Senator Michael Bennet said he took some solace that Mattis had been advising President Trump. Republican Congressman Mike Kaufman of Aurora said Mattis was, quote, the adult in the room. Gardner issued a fairly cheerful statement reading in part, I enjoyed working with General Mattis on securing U.S. global leadership. I later asked a Gardner spokesman if the senator shared the concerns of his colleagues. Of course, Senator added. Senator Gardner's having a pretty difficult week in Washington. He was twice blocked by fellow Republicans who would not even let his ideas come up for a vote. That was on marijuana banking and then on a public lands bill. Last night, Gardner got spicy about it, or about as spicy as he will get on the floor of the Senate.
Let me talk about this because I'm pretty doggone upset because the people of Colorado tonight who are worried about whether or not they can protect themselves from fire lost the Wildfire Technology Act in this bill. And doggone it, we can't even vote on it here. And so many of these doggone pieces of legislation we've already heard.
Oh, for shucks sake. But seriously, listen, we can appreciate somebody who can show some passion without profanity. That's good. But also, quite seriously, as Senator Gardner faces a very difficult re-election campaign, he's inevitably going to face some questions about whether his unwavering loyalty to President Trump and the Republican leadership is paying any dividends if Republicans in Congress won't even allow votes on Gardner's priorities. After Eldora ski area's debacle with paid parking, Arapahoe Basin's going to give it a go. Starting this Saturday, A-Basin's going to start charging for parking in its closest lot on weekends and holidays. $20 if you want to park in the closest 200 spaces. Now, if you have 4 or more people in your car, you can park for free. Perhaps you remember just a couple weeks ago when Eldora tried to roll out a paid parking plan, the backlash was so huge, they ended up trashing it. They called it off for now. So we asked A-Basin why they think they'll be successful.
I think that once people realize that it is just 10% of our parking and it is just Saturdays and Sundays and some of the busier days over the holidays, people understand that it is a benefit, and if they can come here and park and not get turned away, that it's something that they can encourage and support.
We shall see how it goes. At least you won't have to contest with A-Basin employees for that parking. On weekends and holidays, they have to park off-site and then take a shuttle to work. People in Arvada wanted to celebrate the opening of RTD's G-Line.
But it hasn't, so we decided to kind of poke fun at this one.
They still don't have a train, but they do have Ghost Train t-shirts. And taking on vaping in our state as an issue of clean air. That's next. Too often we fall into this, there's this side and there's this side. Well, you know what? Sometimes this side isn't telling the truth, and we should be saying that. It's important to hear things you don't agree with because it is the single best way to test your own beliefs. It's a sign of thoughtfulness to hear a perspective that you disagree with and to say, you know what? I hadn't considered that. That's a really good point. I want to give you a fresh perspective, something that you haven't thought of. It doesn't matter if you agree. It just matters that we listen to each other.
We are Broncos.
I'm a Broncos fan because we got the best team in the NFL. My whole life I've been a Broncos fan.
Denver till we die. We bring the thunder. Bronco fans are the best.
It's probably the most exciting thing that you could ever feel.
They're the best team in the league, obviously. We got the best fans. The whole stadium shakes and everybody's jumping around and rooting and hollering. There's nothing like this crowd.
Broncos fans will always stay loyal.
We're looking forward to another Super Bowl win.
This is Bronco country.
We bleed orange and blue.
It's the time of year for reflection, tradition, and giving back.
But for many, it's also a time of stress, anxiety, depression, or addiction.
It's important to know you're not alone.
If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, alcohol, addiction, or eating disorders, call or text the number on your screen anytime to talk to a real person. Visit the community section on 9news.com or the 9 News app for resources.
Let's take care of ourselves and each other.
I identify as Panamanian and African American, but at the end of the day, I'm just human.
I identify as the Latina Asian.
I identify as Puerto Rican and Mexican.
I identify as a Chicana.
I identify as Mexican American.
I identify as Colombian American.
I identify myself as Honduran.
I identify as Mexican American.
And I identify as Salvadorian.
I identify as Colombian Palestinian.
I identify as Chicana.
But at the end of the day.
But at the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
I am just human.
Coloradans love weather, they care about weather, and they're savvy about weather. And they're an important part of our entire process of getting great information.
Hope you had a great day. Nice to see some sunshine, comfortable temperatures, and downtown Denver all lit up on a Thursday evening. We're kind of sandwiched in between two different storms. One pushing in across the Pacific Northwest. This will be in our backyard as we head toward tomorrow. This means snowfall up in the mountains and some very gusty winds here for the metro area. But it's not here tonight. We'll go mostly clear with the skies and temperatures cooling off into the 20s here in Denver. Teens, 20s for the eastern plains. And look at that, Gunnison, Alamosa, a cold night in the single digits for you. Should be a quiet evening across the state. By tomorrow morning, a few high-level clouds building into the metro with the snow following suit, primarily hitting the northern central and perhaps the southern mountains by about 5, 6 o'clock. Then we'll be looking for heavier snow building in late tomorrow night into Saturday. And possibly on Saturday, a few light flurries here in the Denver area. Before we get there, how about a little taste of spring? 61 on tap tomorrow, of course. It comes at a cost with those strong gusty northwesterly winds. Temps in the 50s and low 60s across the eastern plains with 30s and 40s going up in the mountains. You'll notice the 7-day, a huge drop off from Friday into Saturday. Couple of little flurries out there will jump up to about 49 on Sunday. As far as the Christmas holiday goes, in the 40s with possibly a few flurries late on Tuesday evening, Kyle. So maybe kind of a white Christmas.
I like that, tempering expectations. I try to do the same.
Yeah.
Thank you, Danielle. Teenagers in Colorado, they vape more than kids in most other states, and that's a concern for health experts in our area. They're really at a loss as to how to keep teenagers away from this form of nicotine. We've seen one of the top manufacturers of e-cigarettes promise that they'll limit where they sell them and make sure that people 21 and older are the only ones who can buy them. The director of the Tri-County Health Department here in the metro area doesn't think that's good enough. He wants the law in Colorado to change, to keep a new generation from getting sucked into an old problem.
Tobacco remains the #1 cause of preventable death and disability in the U.S. I mean, that's a weird statistic in 2018. I mean, we're like 50 years after the Surgeon General said this stuff is really bad for you. So I'm Dr. John Douglas, and I'm the director of Tri-County Health Department. Colorado is #1 for kids saying, yes, I have used a vape product in the last 30 days. It's frustrating, it's worrisome, it's angering. We're really concerned that this is going to reverse that trend, addicting kids to nicotine and wiping out a ton of progress and resulting in more of the kind of tobacco-related problems, lung cancer, heart disease. The Colorado Clean Indoor Air Act, which says you can't smoke in restaurants and bars and other indoor places, does not include vaping products or e-cigarettes in the law. That really needs to change.
Still no guarantee, though, that state legislators actually take up this issue when their new session starts in January. It's a sign, or rather, a few of them, sowing confusion about exactly what is going on at the South Glen Sears. Whole bunch of you sent us photos of this scene at the South Glen Mall. So which is it? Is the store closing or hiring? It's probably not doing both. So we called several times today. Nobody picked up the phone. We called the corporate offices and they said, well, you got to call somebody in the Philippines. Wait, about the South Glen Mall, we got to call somebody in the Philippines? Yeah, so we called the Philippines, so we're getting passed back and forth. Here's what we know. The store closes for good on January 6th. Can't tell you anything about the hiring sign. If you're looking for long-time work, run. Mystery continues. Email the signs you see to next@9news.com.
This tree's gonna have friends. Right now, this tree's pretty lonely.
This old tree in the former Gov's Park Tavern watched decades of drinkers drown their sorrows. Now this lonely tree needs a new home, and fast. And this Christmas, what do you buy the city that has everything, except the train that RTD promised them years ago? How about a t-shirt? That's next.
Thomas, also known as Detour in the art world, work continues night and day. He's moving on from his usual subjects.
Painted Jay-Z, of course, right here.
To paint people who aren't world famous, but fascinating.
This is me. It's roses mixed with line work and my face.
He's drawing attention to the lives of local women of color.
A lot of times when a lot of people of color go to a museum, it's really hard to find individuals that kind of look like us in these masterpieces. So for me, it's really important to start putting people of color, especially females, in my life on these beautiful portraits. So that way, in 100 years, people will look back and say, okay, they were represented, they were here.
And his muse, Tanya Saleh, is an artist in her own right.
And I want you to see right through me to the depths of me.
And her face is popping up all over town.
So I painted Tanya 3 times.
I think this one might be my favorite. You only see what's on the surface, but you have to dive deep into a person to see who they are. It makes me proud and it makes me grateful that I could be an inspiration to someone.
The colors on these walls radiate confidence.
That girl portrays determination.
And it's reactions like that.
Now they have something beautiful to stare at with a positive message.
That keep Detour working day after day.
To take people from these neighborhoods and to amplify us, it's kind of like we're still leaving our mark.
I want them to feel proud about themselves and how they look and who they are.
Gift giving is hard.
Gift giving is an art. What do you give the person who's got everything?
I gave her a heifer.
You're giving me a cow for my birthday?
It's a farm animal.
It's more than a gift. A farm animal helps families in hunger. Gifts like this change lives.
Give different.
Christmas, Valentine's Day, Hanukkah, whatever you want.
Give a family life.
It's more than a gift.
It's the best gift I ever gave.
I've promised I'm still holding on to our I Love the A-Line shirt for the day that the train line finally gets its poop in a group. Somebody suggested that we make a G-Line shirt for the day that that line eventually opens. Looks like somebody in Arvada beat us to it. They're selling these ghost train shirts for the RTD line that is about to be 3 calendar years overdue. I love the back. Taking nobody, nowhere, real fast.
Well, we think it's funny, yeah, but in good fun. We're all for it. And I think we've tapped into something here that there's frustration, a little bit of anger. We're not angry. Like I said, we're all for it. We just, we want to see it useful, you know? How many times does it have to go by with nobody on it? It hasn't derailed. There's been no accidents. We understand the federal side and all the laws and so forth, but as somebody here just listening to it every day, all day, that's why it comes with earplugs. It's gone by thousands of times, which is, again, why it's empty. That's probably what bothers us most, is that there's nobody on it. And it's, we want to get on it. And
earplugs wasn't a stretch.
Yeah, that was the real train there. That was Dennis Line, co-owner of Torso Rags. Call him D-Line if you prefer. His late father loved trains, he told us. He's so excited for the train to Arvada and Wheat Ridge to open, but Dennis's father didn't see it happen. Dennis's dad was Gordon Line, the original G-Line. Gov's Park is long gone. That longtime watering hole dried up a few weeks ago and left this very prominent palm tree in need of a new place to stretch its branches. It's been sitting in the bar for decades. If you're ever at Gov's, you saw this thing. It was huge. The new owner of the building put it on Craigslist and quickly got a taker. That tree will soon put down roots downtown.
1976 is when Governor's Park opened, and the palm was planted around that time. But it was about 50 years old when it was planted, and it was given as a gift from the Coors family. My name is Eric Hyatt. I am one of the partners that's going to be coming in to renovate the location. I was a little disheartened on what the future of the palm was going to be, because there's some construction that's going to be taking place in the new year, and we're going to find a new home for it.
Oh my gosh.
Good. It's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, but one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I'm Rooney, and I'm a plant facilitator. Yesterday, I was laying in bed. I kind of launched onto social media like I do in the mornings, and someone had tagged me in a post of, "We need to save this tree."
That's pretty cool.
And I'm so excited about it.
That's really cool.
So excited about it. As I was frantically calling places yesterday, my partner recommended, he was like, "Hey, remember that restaurant we went to? Why don't you give them a call?" So I called up there.
It was actually lunchtime. He calls and says, "Hey, I have this tree and I thought of you guys."
The base of it will definitely fit, but...
My name's Kevin Delk. I am the proud owner of Bang Up to the Elephant restaurant up on Capitol Hill.
I don't think there is a better spot for it. I don't think there's a better spot for it.
So the tree is going to go right underneath our beautiful gold disco ball. Yeah, we had plans to do this early on, and then as time went on, we never did find the tree. And so we thought, maybe this will just never happen. And then Rooney called, and yeah, serendipity. We have a tree now.
And I knew it was a perfect fit for something that has been such an integral part of this community. There's no one better, I don't think, that could have taken the plant.
The tale of a tree through the lens of our photojournalist Corky Scholl. We're back with the reunion you'll want to see next.
There are heroes among us. They don't fly or bend steel or ride off into the sunset. They simply volunteer to look after someone else's health by providing comfort, lending a hand, or simply keeping us on track. Everyone's health needs a hero. Who will you look out for?
Find out how you can participate in improving our health. Visit iparticipate.org.
Game Day Live, Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. on 9 News.
Like lightning on the Great Plains, a spark ignites the imagination of a young 4-H member named Ryan. As a teenager, Ryan explores the wonders of nature. As a young man, he experiments, discovering new possibilities. As a scientist, Ryan uses a new technology to detect an invisible tumor in a little girl's eye. The 4-H commitment of fostering 1 million new scientists and engineers is being embraced by companies and universities around the country. With their help, 4-H is growing the next generation of great thinkers like Ryan. 4-H, 1 million new scientists, 1 million new ideas.
I really didn't feel safe anymore at home.
Sometimes I wouldn't eat. It was like this hunger pain in your stomach.
It was just so lonely. I just felt like I was not important to anyone.
I never thought homelessness could happen to someone like me.
I remember coming here and I felt comfort, I felt safe.
Graduating as valedictorian, getting a job, keeping the job, it's just a good feeling.
Because I've completely turned my life around and made it into what I've always wanted it to be. There's people out there who can help. There's people out there who care, and things can get better.
If you call 1-800-RUNAWAY, you will get connected to the help you need.
All right, pop quiz. Can you name your first grade teacher? Chuck St. John has always remembered Miss Greenwood. Chuck saw our story celebrating her. She's the 106-year-old retired teacher from Newland Elementary, the first African-American teacher given tenure in Denver. She and Chuck reunited at her retirement home yesterday. Chuck says it was magical to be able to tell her what an impact she had on his life. Finish with your feedback. Benjamin says, along with the Is the A-Line running today, how about an Is Sheriff Fred Wegener in Colorado segment? I was thinking maybe like a Sheriff's Catch of the Day segment. Looks like he's pretty good at fishing. SP says, Kyle's got a little Sherlock Holmes vibe going on today. You noticed that, did you? We'll see you next time.